Yo.
Hello.
Hello. How's it going, folks?
How's it going?
Who's panicking?
Who's panicking? Well, it's not Roie and me.
It's not Roie.
Arjun,
And it's not Jenna.
Roie and me.
Arjun's trying to get a couple things set up. And so we're gonna fill a little bit of time and say hello. I don't even know if there's anyone joining us yet, but welcome to coming to hang out with us today.
Yeah, it's gonna be exciting. I enjoyed last time so much that I'm happy we're doing this. So not that far off from the first one.
Yeah. I agree. I had a good time the last time as well. I like that I hope everyone, like people that watch this and join us, like that this is kind of just an informal opportunity for all of us to chat and for us, the three of us, to chat and like see what each other's working on or interested in, but also to like hear what you all are interested in.
Exactly.
Because
honestly,
yeah.
that's the best part. Like the
Yeah.
most endorphins I get is from when people are like, I'm here to talk about blah, and then we just like go back and forth in chat.
Yeah.
Honestly, the most rewarding. I did want to like see if I can get my LinkedIn because I'm on the live stream page. I just wanted to have the chat. Join. There we go. Boom. Now I can see it. Perfect. How's it going, Arjun?
Chat.
Is Claude still being stupid?
Chat. Do you ever just like make a demo and then you leave it to the last
You walk away
5 seconds?
You ever just talk to Claude and you're like, hey Claude,
hey bud,
can you do my job for me, please? just before this is happening. And then everything works. Yeah. And then like 30 seconds before your coworkers ask you to jump on a live stream, everything breaks. And now you have to buy yourself some time while
and then you're like, Claude, you ever just do fired. That? I'm going to be fired, bro. I'm going to be fired. And then it suddenly works.
And then, you hit a rate limit and everyone uses Claude Code at the same time and it just explodes. Does that ever happen to you, chat? Or is that just a me thing?
It's not just you.
I don't think it's you. I don't think it's
I mean, you. I do think like the most interesting things are like in the fixing of it. Well, maybe not the most interesting things, but the fixing of what goes wrong.
What do you mean? Nothing's going wrong at all, Jenna. I don't know what
everything
you're
is
about.
Everything is working and has always worked.
Okay. We're good. We're ready. We're ready. Hi everyone.
Okay. Just like that. What a mood shift.
Sweet. Cool. All right, so who's
the reason
here?
why we were losing our minds is because like all that today is about is Claude.
Claude and
talk about Claude and Claude Code. What? Can I ask something?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so we know that like different AIs, like whatever, different LLMs have different personalities and whatnot, and they like behave differently in different places. You know what I mean? Like Codex CLI is not like Codex inside of the ChatGPT app versus inside of their own app versus blah blah blah. You know what I mean? I have two questions. First of all, why is Claude Code so goddamn successful? Like, is it because it knows how to code better, or it's because it's nicer, or what is it, or not too nice? That's number one. And number two is, what is the best surface area to interact with Claude Code? Like, is it like your IDE? Is it like the CLI? Is it their app? What do you guys think?
All right. So I have thoughts.
You have thoughts?
Specific ones.
I think you were like the one person who was like on the Claude bandwagon way before it was like cool.
Really early.
Yeah. So I've used a lot of different coding IDEs. I will attempt to stay somewhat impartial, but Claude Code's pretty good. Yeah. And I learned about Claude Code because I got invited to the first dev conference they had last year, Code with Claude. And so once I went there, I was like, oh, this is actually really cool. And before people were really interested in agentic tooling for coding, the main experience was inside an IDE. So you'd be like in Cursor or in GitHub Copilot, and you'd have two capabilities. You'd have the autocomplete capability, so you'd write whatever you were doing, and then it would autocomplete for you.
Yeah.
Or you'd have the agent, you'd kind of do like whatever, right? So there was
Remember
something
those
really
good old days when we actually tabbed to complete things, and it was like, oh my god, I can't believe it did that.
It might do a whole function.
I lost my mind. Let me tell you, the amount of brain cells that exploded in my brain, like when I first used GitHub Copilot for the first time.
Oh my god!
Not sponsored.
Oh my god.
When I use GitHub Copilot for the first time.
Not sponsored yet.
Yet.
GitHub. Hey guys,
if you're listening. I was writing a function, and it was just the autocomplete at the time. And I was like, oh, blah, blah, I'm going to start writing this function, def, blah, blah, blah. And I paused because I didn't know what I wanted to write. And then it just filled in the function.
It peered into your mind.
And it was crazy.
I know exactly what he wants.
I was like, this is what I was going to write, right? So it's pretty insane. So autocomplete and like agentic, right? The thing about Claude Code is that there's no autocomplete. It just writes the code for you that you tell it to do. Right? And so when you use it inside a terminal and you remove the ability to like interact with the code base, and this was like before the VS Code integration. So like you couldn't even use it inside VS Code to actually see the code that you wrote. You had to open another tab and kind of, I sound like I'm like talking about the radio or something. You had to open another tab and you had to like, edit the code that's in there. Right.
Yeah.
And I think committing to that and like making that experience really good. And this,
so is
I remember
not seeing the code. Is it just not seeing the code? Is that the part you're talking about committing to? Like, what is the part that like
not writing the code in the first place? So being inside the Claude Code interactive terminal and just like telling it what to do, and then seeing the code get made. And the nice thing at the beginning was that it wouldn't do a bunch of stuff before I got back to you. So the feedback loop was like right there. So it would do like one thing, because it didn't have like advanced tool use then when it really was there.
Right.
And it would get back to me and be like, is this the thing you want? And you confirm or reject, and then it would go in that loop. And it was super satisfying because you would slowly build trust with the agent, because you're like, oh, this thing knows roughly what I need to do if I specify it enough, and it's getting back to me soon enough where I can actually be like, okay, this is fine, this is fine, this is fine. And over time, we've seen that those loops get longer and longer and longer, where we're just okay with agents just doing whatever and waiting until the results come back and kind of verifying those things, which is cool. But initially, that was
I think the endorphin distribution has just like been readjusted so that we stay higher for longer.
Yeah.
And then you just keep going and keep going. It's like, oh, this feels good. Oh, this feels good. Honestly, by the way, like I just, as an aside, like the activity of building things with any AI right now is like legitimately addicting, like in all senses.
I saw somebody say it's like a lottery machine.
I mean, it's like a slot machine. It's like every time like you pull the lever, it's like boom, 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 boom. It's like you get the satisfaction, and I find it very hard sometimes when I'm working on something that is exciting to me to like stop working, which is really weird. Like it's not normal. Anyway, sorry, that was like a quick aside.
That's fair. I think the lottery metaphor is fun. I don't know if it's like wise, because it's like you're not actually randomly generating things. You are constrainedly generating things. But the idea that it makes it easy for you to stay in a flow state and kind of just like keep going versus like waiting for something else, that I do feel to be true. So I see the validity there. Sai's coming in here with a take. We got his comment on screen. Claude is just better for backend work. I don't trust Codex with anything working in cloud. Interesting.
Yes, really? Like that's not been my experience. I mean, honestly, like I've been working with both of them interchangeably. By the way, both of them in their respective apps, right? And the reason why I ask like what's the best surface, right? Like, and Arjun, you started talking about that, like in the fact that like you're basically agent first, and then like the code is kind of like almost hidden to some extent, right? But you can get to it, obviously, right? But it's not what you interact with first. That, again, I feel like exists fully, like that experience exists fully in Codex, the app, and in Claude Code inside the Claude app, right? Like exactly the same experience, but still people prefer the CLI. And I don't understand that. Like that's the part that it does the same freaking thing, except for you have like a menu, like that you can, move between threads, and like you have like desktop notifications, and you have like all of these like bells and whistles on top that you don't have in the terminal, and still people choose the terminal, which I don't understand.
I think there's like a.
So you're not a terminal user?
I am a terminal user. I've used like the terminal all the time. I'm just not a Vim user. I'm not like, one of those. I've always preferred IDEs to like editing code in the terminal, because like I like the idea of a mouse. But like, this
clip that chat.
Like people,
I like the idea of a mouse.
I like the idea of a mouse.
I am a avid CLI user, terminal user. However, it has taken me a little bit longer to latch onto like Claude Code at the CLI versus I most recently I've been using Cursor like in the IDE, obviously. Well, I guess there is a CLI now, but I've been using Cursor in the IDE. Because I haven't quite figured out what my like workflow is between when I do need to edit files or review files in where I want to do it, which is the IDE, versus the CLI, where I'm very comfortable. Like I do all my Git stuff from the CLI. I don't do it in Cursor IDE stuff.
Right.
So like it has taken me a little bit for this particular thing. It's taking me longer to get to the CLI, like Claude Code CLI. And I think it is just I'm trying to work out that workflow back and forth.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yes.
I mean, I
Hi,
find that, I keep
Kingsley.
changing that.
Hello.
Hello, Kingsley.
Welcome.
I find that I keep changing like my mode of operating all the time. I am 100% like the thing that most interests me right now, both in Claude Code and in Codex, is skills. Skills are so cool, and not just like the idea of, I'll use someone else's skill for doing better React or whatever the heck, you know what I mean? I'm talking about creating skills for a particular thing that you need. Like, for example, I have this project I'm working on, and I'm about to like hand it off to other developers, right? So like I developed something, and I need to like give it to them so that they can work on it. And yes, like I have a bunch of tasks and stuff for them to do and all that, like, and that's cool. But like this particular code base has like all sorts of things that you should probably know about it, you know what I mean, as you're working on it and developing it and doing things. And so I went through like a session with Codex about it, and then we built a skill together that just goes with the repo, right? And then like the next person to come and use that with their whatever agent can just pick up that skill and move forward with no issue, right? Like they'll have instructions on how to set up everything. Like not them, like their agent will have the instructions on how to set up everything, how to get the right keys, how to put them in the right place, blah, 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 how to deal with deployment and Kubernetes stuff. And like, there's so many details that you can't, I mean, sure, you could put them all in a doc, right? And someone would read it and try and figure it out. But putting it in a skill is so nice, because you'll just, they'll just take that skill and their agent will use it, and everything will be fine. I find that like a really fascinating way of just like transferring knowledge. You know what I mean? Which is very meta, because Arjun, you recently made some skills.
Oh yeah.
Tell us about those skills, bud.
Yeah. So over the past few months at Pinecone, we've been thinking really hard about how to make it easy for agentic IDE developers, anyone who's using Claude Code or Cursor or Copilot or whatever, vibe coders, if you will, to use Pinecone really nicely, right? Like what does the best user experience look like if we want people to use Pinecone really well in those environments? And we've released a lot of different things over the past few months to help with that, one of which is skills. So we have our own skills repo, and we've kind of gone and done a little bit of the extra mile with how we've designed how our skills work and how our experiences work in different IDEs. So if you're in Claude Code, for example, which is what I'm going to be demoing today, we don't just have
By
skills.
the way, I just want to interrupt you and aside it. How annoying is it that we have to think about now, like whatever N IDEs, like 3, 4, 5, right?
And they
Yeah.
all do it
in
different.
this world, and they all do it a little bit differently. And there's like a little bit thing. I mean, by the way, I think that would be like something to talk about. Like after we're done, like showing whatever, right? Like talk about like that experience of developing like these things, because it's A, annoying, and B, I think you came up with like a pretty cool setup for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to talk about that. Basically, we have a skills repo that feeds into our plugin and extension experiences. So we have a Claude Code plugin, which we got accepted into the official Claude Code plugin marketplace. We have over 5.6 thousand installs, which is pretty great.
Nice.
And we just launched our Gemini CLI extension, and we're going to have Cursor and GitHub Copilot coming soon. So we'll have 4 different IDEs that we'll have bespoke experiences for. And then we have skills for everybody else doing anything else wherever they are. And I'll talk about the process of developing all those things, but today we're going to be talking about our plugin and like why that's cool and why that's important. So our plugin lets you not only access the skills that we've made for Pinecone, and I'll talk about what those are in a second, but it also automatically configures our Pinecone MCP server. So if you want your agent, specifically Claude or whatever you're using, to ask questions and interact about the indexes that you have, do searches for you, so on and so forth, you can do that with one installation via Claude Code. It also comes with a quick start skill, which lets you learn how to use Pinecone. So if you have no idea how to use Pinecone, you want to get started, you have your API key, you can just run /quickstart, and it'll walk you through creating an index, upserting data, doing some queries, showing you the value of semantic search and all that sort of stuff. And we have some nice to have skills, like a doc skill, documenting our CLI, how to use the MCP server, how to query stuff, so on and so forth. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what this repo looks like, so you can kind of see like where this is kind of shown. I'll show a couple tabs here first. So the first thing I'm going to show is what we have over here.
Hold up,
which
hold
is
up. I gotta share your screen.
Oh man.
Oh,
there we
hang
go.
on. Sorry, no, that was my fault.
Sweet.
That was totally my fault.
Okay, cool.
Oh, I wish I could picture in picture. This will be a little.
Oh, you can. I think.
We can. Yeah, Jenna, make the production.
No, I got it. It works. No, wait, I can do it. What? Yo.
Yo.
Why isn't Zoom like this? Why can't I do this in Zoom?
Oh.
All right. Anyway, sorry. I should.
It's made for a different purpose.
That's true. That's true. So anyway, this is the official marketplace, right? And we're in here, but I want to show this so you know what I mean when I say official marketplace. So if you go inside Claude Code, or if you fire up Claude Code, you can run plugin install Pinecone, and we're just there because we're already shipped with all these other plugins that are here. So if I click on, I guess I can't click on this page. That's fine. I'm going to go ahead and share this screen instead. All right. So now we're at our Claude Code plugin repository.
No.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
We are.
Yeah,
we're good.
Tab.
We're here.
I mean, we all thought we were going to go somewhere else, but we're still in GitHub. It's cool.
We're at 48 stars, which is really cool. And we have our plugin.
Dude, wait, what?
Oh, yeah, we're at 48 stars.
That's dope.
Yeah, it's pretty insane.
That's neat.
If you really want your mind blown, we can check the clone metrics, but that's gonna not be fun. The other thing I forgot to mention is that you can do a bunch of assistant operations via Claude Code as well. So if you prefer not to build your own RAG and you just want to use our assistant product, which does RAG for you, does the chunking for you, you can upload PDFs using Claude Code. You can chat with an assistant you've created, all that sort of stuff. But this is what I mean. If you want to install the plugin, all you have to do is run plugin install Pinecone and restart Claude Code, and you're done. Just export an API key, turn on Claude Code, and now you can do a bunch of cool stuff inside Claude Code with our plugin.
Can I just say something? It is 2026, and we are restarting things to make them work.
You know,
guys, like, what are we doing?
What are we doing?
Restarting the IDE to make a thing work. This needs to be fixed. That is insanity.
And then this is what a skill looks like, right? It's just like a little piece of markdown that kind of shows you what you're doing in order. And here we're just telling Claude Code what the experience should be for the user and what you should be doing at every step of the way. And that's super nice because there are some workflows that are actually quite difficult to have a person do, like Roie was saying, without having to do a bunch of manipulation on the user side that would require a lot of scaffolding and code that maybe we can't even support, right? Like you can even do wild things with Claude Code now, like go to websites for you and click on buttons and all that sort of stuff. You can document those things inside of a skill. So I like to think of skills as natural language workflows, right? It's like, here are the things you need to complete in order. And yeah, there are other assets that will help you do certain things deterministically. Like, for example, in our quick start script, we have an upsertion script. So you don't have to generate the upsert code. You can just run that script and you're kind of good to go. But what we do leave off for the user is what queries do you want to run against this index that we just made, right? Just like type them in here and we'll make the appropriate calls for you. You don't have to write the code or save a variable in order to kind of run a script to see the results of what you're doing. It's just a guided experience. So that's kind of the philosophy behind why we want these plugins to do what they do. And it turns out that people like them. The other thing that it turns out is that you can do a lot of weird, interesting stuff, not weird, practical, cool stuff with this capability once you've let your agent access your index. And that's what I'm going to demo today. So we're going to go through and we're going to talk about a new thing that I'm working on that I really want to gauge interest for. I want to see what you all think. Jenna and Roie have no idea what I'm talking about, by the way.
Yeah, this is sight unseen. Sight unseen. I don't know.
This was like 15 minutes before.
I was making this. I was making this.
Arjun woke up this morning, was like, oh, in a start, like, I have this idea.
You joke, but that's what happened. I went on a run and I came back and I just like stopped and like this idea just like percolated in my brain. Fantastic. And I was like, I need to have.
What happens when you step away from the keyboard?
I know, seriously. Like running? What is that?
Are you telling me not to code? Don't code? What?
He's coding while he's running. As he's running, he's like,
oh yeah, Claude remote in my pocket.
With
dispatching messages.
Something dispatch.
By the way, my experience with dispatch is like, bleh. Like I mean, it's a good idea in theory, but like guys, like it's not there yet. And like there's the whole like disconnect between like the environments that you have locally and then the environments that you have in the cloud. And come on,
guys. And it's like one conversation. It's one conversation.
And it's just like one kind. Yeah, I can't have threads when I'm doing dispatch. Oh, sorry.
That's what I discovered last night.
You were going to show us like your cool thing, so like let's let you do that.
Listen, whenever I have problems, I just tell Claude to fix it, and things work afterward. All right, I don't know what you're talking about. All this environment installation, local host. I don't know. I don't get it. I'm kidding, Chad. I'm kidding. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna tell a story before I go into this. Right. So basically, I want to create some sort of demo that would show people how to use the plugin in a really non-trivial way, right? Like it's cool for you to query your indexes. It's cool for you to, list your indexes, whatever. Like you can write scripts to do that. That's fine. But having Claude do it for you is cool. But how can we compose a bunch of things that Claude Code can do, Pinecone can do, and the plugin can do in order to create a really cool experience or emulate a really cool workflow that you might actually have to do? So I've built a tiny repo and a tiny skill. And if this works out really well, I'll ship it in our skills repo and people can use it. And the idea was I found a cool data set and I want to see if I can explore the data set and label it using Claude Code and Pinecone. And this is not an uncommon workflow that people do with Pinecone because you have the ability, for those that don't know, Pinecone's a vector database. And the cool thing about vector databases is that they organize information in a really non-intuitive way, right? So if you have an embedding representation of your query and all the documents in your data, you can start to do things like, I have this idea, concept, or representation. Find all the things that are similar to that really quickly. Now that they're similar, let's do something on all those similar things so that I can bootstrap some sort of capability, right? And the capability we're talking about is data labeling. So if I have a new concept, or if I have a bunch of unstructured data, like say interviews or transcripts or meetings or questions and answers, which I'll show you in a second, I might say something like, I want to find a bunch of people who've talked about this concept. Show me all of the things that talked about this concept. And I'm going to describe what that concept is. You can hit the vector database. It'll return 5, 10, 15, whatever results you want to look at that are most similar to that input query you just described. Or Claude can optimize the query for you, right? Because you're just in between. Claude is in between you and the actual vector database if we're using the MCP. And then you can actually start to explore this unstructured data you have and label it in a really interesting way. So I had that idea and I was like, all right, I gotta do something cool, right? And I came across this data set. So I'm going to share this tab. I'm going to be sharing lots of tabs. So I apologize for the jumpingness here, everybody. But I'm going to go ahead and share the screen. Can you all see my screen?
Not yet.
I think maybe, Jenna, you have to give me permissions again.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I was reading something else. Come on.
All right, sick. So I was looking for data sets and I came across this, right? So a couple months ago, Anthropic did something really interesting, which I think is super cool. They basically created a tool that they sampled their Claude AI users with, and it was an automated interview experience. This is not a job interview. This is like, we're interested in these trends or these ideas. Let's interview people who are using Claude.ai in order to understand like what people think about things. And the specific thing that they were thinking about collecting data on is how people work with AI tools, right? So they created a guided interview experience. And I'll scroll down here to kind of show you why they did this, because they really wanted to understand like what people's feelings are about AI. Like, are they optimistic? Are they pessimistic? How are people using them? All that sort of stuff, right? So you can imagine doing something similar at your organization or anywhere else, right? Where it's like, hey, I'm just going to survey all my users.
Wait. What was the bottom line? What were people thinking?
You want to see? You want to see?
I kind of do.
Yeah. So they did a bunch of workforce people, scientists and creatives. Okay. And it seems like the people they sampled were optimistic about the AI use that they have, keeping in mind that I think they sampled people who are already using these tools, not people who haven't used these tools before.
Yeah, some bias.
Yeah. Right. There's some bias, right? Because you're using the tool, so you can say that it's cool.
Yeah.
People wanted to preserve tasks that define their professional identity while delegating routine work to AI. So I'd consider this like workflow automation, right? So like do the workflow automation, and then I can focus on the cool stuff. And then there's some distinctions here about what creatives think and what scientists think. We're going to focus on the scientist cohort today because the data set's smaller, but basically their conclusion was most of the people who self-identified as scientists said that they are really happy about using it to generate hypothesis and design experiments, but they can't really trust it for core experimental work as of December 2025, right?
Interesting.
So that's actually kind of cool to be able to do that sort of analysis and kind of automatically collect that data, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if I can zoom in here, so I'll try to do it on the screen. Are we zooming in? Do you see that?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So we're going to ignore this part because this right-hand side is what we're going to try to do a really simple version of. But this left-hand side is like, we can ignore the left-hand side too, because we're going to assume the interview is already created. But basically they prompt people and they're like, hey, here's a bunch of questions. Like, can you answer these questions? And then they collected all those results and they did a bunch of transformations on those results in order to do this report analysis, right? So we can do a simple version of this because they open source the data set. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take a subset of this data set. We're going to embed it, throw it into Pinecone, and we're going to try to label the things that people are talking about in this data set through using Pinecone Claude Code and a skill that I made that kind of facilitates the whole process. So where is this data set?
Wait, you made a skill specifically for this particular task?
Yes, I did.
Love it.
And that was the thing I was freaking out about trying to make work like right before this call. I could not for the life of me get the skill to surface inside Claude Code. And then I was like, all right, I'm just going to intervene and fix this. And then I fixed it and it worked. But anyway, so this is the data set. It's on Hugging Face. It's called Anthropic Interviewer. And we're going to look specifically at the scientist cohort, which is 125 rows, right?
Okay.
So there's 125 of these transcripts here, and then there's the text. And if we look at the text, it's basically like assistant, hi, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like the user kind of talking about something that they've done recently. So this person is talking about an intervention program on the 6-month mortality rate of elderly patients, right? So you can imagine that a cool analysis we could do is like, what types of work are people using AI to do if they're using Claude.ai and if they're
Sure.
interested in applying that sort of thing, right? So our task is going to be, how do we pre-process this text? How do we get it from Hugging Face to us, right?
Right.
How do we get that into Pinecone? Do we need a chunk? And then how do we
Ugh.
query Pinecone and then label those instances?
Like I have to do all these things. Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm
And
already
I was
annoyed.
able. I don't. Yep. But the nice thing is that there's some nice hierarchy here that we can kind of exploit, right?
Okay.
So if we look at it doesn't matter which instance, but you can look at this one. You can see that in every single transcript, you have the assistant colon and then you have the user colon, right?
Yep.
So we can actually split on those and be like, okay, for every pair of like AI and user, we're just going to assume that when the AI goes first, it's asking a question and then the user is responding. So that can be our one chunk. And now we're just going to be able to search over on like a question level basis across all of these transcripts. And we can see how we can kind of label those things that way. So that's the idea here. I'm going to pull up my repository and kind of show you what I've made. And my hope is that we'll be able to label these things together. So I think that would be super, super fun.
Nice.
I
like
Claude tells me it works.
I like the emphasis on hope. I hope.
Chat, you ever just make a demo right before a live stream? You have to do it explodes. Okay, all right.
This is a callback. This is a callback. We had our first callback.
Remember that demo? It actually exploded. All right, cool. Can you all see what I'm seeing?
I mean, we can never see what you see, but you know what I mean. But
yeah.
No, we can.
Cool.
It's very narrow. Is that intended?
Bunch of chunks and very narrow. Yeah, like your window is very narrow. Make it bigger. Bigger.
It's because it's split. If I don't do this, then I can't see.
Oh, okay.
Fine. That's the issue. So what I will do?
Could you maybe plus it up a little bit, just a little bit?
I'll just do this. Is that better?
No, don't do that.
No, that's worse. There we go.
Okay.
There we go.
That's fine.
So
that's fine.
I'll go ahead and just like zoom in, probably.
Yeah, I think you're fine.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm gonna go over like what we want to store in Pinecone so that you have an idea of what's kind of going on. So we took the scientist subset and we're gonna chunk based on each AI question and user response. We're gonna use the llama text embedding model, and we're gonna yield about 1,250 records. I asked Claude to do a dry run before it actually did all these things, so to make sure this actually works. So
what is it you're looking at right now? Is this like?
This is a document.
I can't
see. It's called record spec.md.
Okay.
And it's basically a document that I made that describes the data that I want to store in Pinecone. I chose this abstraction because I wanted to clearly describe to Claude, like, this is what I want you to think about when you're creating metadata fields and when you're upserting things into Pinecone. Like, this is the things that we want to stick to.
You wrote this manually?
No, I wrote it with Claude. So I said, here are the things that I care about. Like, go ahead and make the spec.
Okay.
So that's the idea, right? So we're chunking up each transcript into pairs, where with pairs are like AI user. And then we're gonna make sure we keep track of transcript ID. We're gonna keep track of which pair in the transcript we're talking about, first, second, third, or whatever, and how many pairs there are total. This is probably not as necessary, but it helps you figure out where you are in the whole thing. And we're going to think about labels we could add, right? So one label that could be interesting is like attitude, whether people are enthusiastic or they're skeptical or they don't want to adopt, right? Or, which I'm going to demonstrate here today, which is workflow. Like, are people using it as a research partner? Are they using it for automation? Or are they not using it at all? Or is it just like a writing aid, right? And what I'm going to do with Pinecone is I'm going to describe these in natural language, like show me situations in which scientists use AI in order to not do super routine work, that they can now focus on other things. I'm going to write that sentence and search that against the index and see if we can come up with records that would be indicative of that behavioral pattern. That's going to be the labeling workflow.
Wait. So I just want to understand one thing. Where is that natural language description coming from? So, like, is it something that Claude will create upon upserting? So like we'll go over the record that you got from Hugging
No,
Face
no.
and then add that additional information, or what?
So that's a really good question. So we've abstracted everything into Pinecone already without any metadata. And we're
Without
going to
any metadata.
interactively, without any metadata, and we're going to interactively work with Claude in an interface inside Claude Code that is described by the skill in order to add metadata to records where we pass queries in.
Interesting. Okay.
And we can do this with the new like update function, right? So we can do like update the metadata on records that are being returned, and we can like add those fields.
Fascinating.
And then I don't think this second one will work because the demo gods clearly hate me. But what we can do is we can say we've labeled like 30 or 40 records, right? Now go label the rest of the data set. Because we can say, here's this thing, right? If it appears in the top 10 results, if you query itself against the data set. And those
so
things
like
have
once you've seeded like the metadata enough, like manually,
exactly,
you're using that as sort of a training data set, right?
Exactly.
Kind of-ish, right? And then you're basically going off of that and you're saying like, okay, go label the rest and add metadata to the rest based on their similarity to the things that I've already labeled.
Exactly. So you can see the appeal of this approach, right? Because you could build a query router, you could do automatic classification just because you're hitting Pinecone instead of running a machine learning model, right? You can do all sorts of really cool stuff. And we have customers that do things like this. Like this is an actual workflow that we can kind of enable. It's also just fun. Like what if we just like labeled this data set and just like see what kind of pops out and what we can kind of do?
No, this is incredibly useful. Incredibly useful.
That's the idea.
Okay.
And so what I did was I did not write the code here. I just told Claude Code with our plugin and with the Hugging Face plugin specifically to figure it out. I was like, let's work together. Let's make a plan and then figure out how to do this. And I'll explain like what we kind of landed on. So Claude Code used the Hugging Face skill to figure out how to download the dataset and store it into JSON-L. And then it wrote a chunker that kind of did the chunking that I described. Then it upstarted everything into Pinecone while respecting rate limits because we looked up what the rate limits were using the doc skill, right? Nice. And now we built the skill together where I described what I want the workflow to be. And now Claude can kind of help walk through what the workflow is. So I'm going to go over each of these files. And this is going to be the first time I've seen some of these files. So I'm going to hope that they actually do what I think they do. Right?
When we get to, just to interrupt really quick, when we get to the ingest, we have a question about embedding models.
Cool.
So we can answer it when we get there, but I just want to call it out.
Okay. Yeah.
So far this looks not too bad, right? We're using requests to download the data set in a paged way. There's only 125 records, so this probably only takes 2 runs to go. And then we're chunking the transcript using regex. You got assistant or AI user, blah, blah, blah. Thank you, Claude, for actually catching that.
Legit.
What it did was it tested it too. So I said, hey, once you write the chunker, test to make sure it does what you think it does on a few records before you actually go forward, right? And so we get this nice chunking situation. And it's written as a CLI script, right? It's written as a script where you can pass arguments in. So it's super easy for Claude to kind of flexibly use. So that's super cool. And then we have ingestion. So what was this question we had about embedding models, Jenna? Let's see if we can answer this here.
Yes. The question is, does it matter what LLM you use to do the embeddings? And I don't actually know if I can't remember if you said this, but are you using, you are using integrated embedding. So
I did. Yes.
You are choosing an embedding model, one of ours that we support.
Yeah, I get a commission on every user that uses. I'm kidding.
If only. Jeez.
I get paid 2 Claude tokens for every one embedded token that people use for our model. No. Yes, of course, Jenna. So the question is about how do you choose an embedding model, right? And like, how do I know that I want to use what I want to use? I'm a fan of avoiding like premature optimization. Even though I do it all the time, I try not to do it.
As engineers, we all do it all the time.
As engineers, we all do it. And so we all try to avoid it, and then we all end up doing it anyway. And so what I care about when I build a demo is I want something that I know will work the first time or close to enough the first time, and that I can get to working really quickly. And the thing about embedding models is that they're very annoying to replace. So if you have an embedding model and you stick to it, and then the support goes away or whatever, you have to re-embed all of your data. Embedding models are not necessarily always backward compatible. That's kind of a new development for certain embedding models. So you need something that works good enough until you get to the point where you're like, oh, I really need a better embedding model. And then you can actually justify replacing everything. So we just need something very good and very general purpose here. And we at Pinecone have done the hard work for you by picking really good, really general purpose embedding models that we host on our platform, so that you can get started and see the value of the things you're doing before you make the harder decision of, should I upgrade to a more expensive embedding model, or should I just stick with something that's here? Because we're working with data that is very conversational, where the chunks are not going to be very large because they're just user answers, and the task itself is not particularly complicated or require a lot of domain specific expertise, I feel comfortable choosing a general purpose embedding model like the one we have on a Pinecone, right? So that's kind of how we chose that one there. But generally, it does matter because certain embedding models have different capabilities, different resolutions, and different ability to support certain tasks. You want to pick one that fits. You want to pick a general purpose one to start, so you can verify that the thing that you're actually doing could work. And then you want to make the decision like, I want a domain specific embedding model that's been fine tuned on the domain data that I care about. Or I want an embedding model that has a larger dimension size because I need the better performance. So I need to use a larger model, so on and so forth. So it does and it doesn't matter at the same time, Carlos. I know that was a little bit of a long answer, but that's how you kind of want to think about it. Cool. So I'm going to go back here and kind of show you what's going on in the ingest portion. So the thing about embedding is that you want to be careful about hitting rate limits, and you want to be careful about making sure that you embed everything. And if there's an issue, you can kind of handle that. And these are things that things like Claude Code are really good at handling. So I asked it to write an embedding script. Now, right away, I'll tell you that there's an error here, or at least an issue where we're kind of fixing on an older version of Pinecone. We really should be using 8 here, but we can fix that a little later. We define what our batch size is. We put a little delay in order to make sure we're not hitting a rate limit by accident. We load in the records and we iterate over everything and we upsert. Let's see if we're actually doing that. Yeah, so we're batching all the records into the batch size. We're going to try to upsert, and if it fails, we're going to report back to see if it's failing or not. And that's pretty much it there for the upsertion workflow. And once we do that, we have all the data there. Lastly, we have the label script, which actually does this labeling for you. So here's what the usage looks like. You run the label script, you pick the index, you specify the IDs you want to label, and you specify the label you actually want to add, right? And it even has a bulk label feature, which I'll show you later if it actually works. And I guess it added a dry run feature. That's super handy. I didn't think about that, but it'd be cool to have that capability, right? We'll see if it actually works later, right? I mean, we don't want to over promise here. So let's see if I can. Yeah, here we go. So this is the main workhorse. We're using index.update, where we pass in the ID of the record we care about, and we're setting the metadata based at what we're interested in here by specifying the namespace. I'm sure we'll run into some issue we didn't anticipate here. Maybe we'll accidentally overwrite a label or something. We can always iterate and fix on that, right? But that is the main thing that we're going to be doing when we want to label the data set. We're going to pull it, update the metadata, and put it, and then that will update its representation inside of the index. Okay,
right. And to be clear again, like, you are the one who's doing the labeling. Essentially, like, initially you're doing it manually, right?
Yep.
Through a Claude Code workflow, but you are the one labeling the thing. So just to go to like relate to the question on the screen, how do we evaluate the accuracy of Claude's labeling when it comes to semantic metadata? Right now, Claude is not doing any labeling, and nor will it do any labeling moving forward. It's done based on similarity to the things you already labeled manually.
Right. And there are more exact ways of doing this, Ryan. Like you could create a golden data set and then figure out the threshold for similarity that you need in order to label a new record as that one. You could do top like K like voting. I'm using the wrong phrase, but the idea is that you query like 10 records and you check the proportion of the records that have the label that you want to label the new record for. And if it's greater than a certain proportion, then you consider that record to be labeled and you kind of go forward there, right? So there's different ways you can estimate how well this methodology specifically works. You'll know that it's not working well when you do what I just described, and you'll have a mix of labels that don't actually apply, or they're really hard for you to distinguish between those things. But you can fix that, right? Because you can add labels, you can do multi-label, or you can adjust the way you're labeling things so that you're further distinguishing those things. Or if you realize that you just don't have the resolution to distinguish between the things you're describing, you can use a different embedding model to better separate those types of things. So it's a very iterative process. We're not going to get something good the first time out unless we're like super defining the task really well. So how does this work? We have the index, we have record spec, which describes what we're working with, what labels we've added. We have the script that does the labeling, and we have the Pinecone MCP. The way we're going to use this skill is we're going to either say label explore or label query, where I'm going to pass in a query that's going to be the thing that I'm going to create the labels for. So it'll get my query. It'll ask me what we're probably going to label things for. It'll search, and then it'll present each thing, and we'll confirm, deny, and then it'll update those things. And let's see if we can try to confirm that this works by looking inside our console as well. So I'm going to give an example. I'm going to go ahead and just pull this up here. LOL, you're going to see me like freaking out about how this isn't working. So I'm going to go ahead and do label, and I'm going to say scientists using AI to automate repeated workflows in their experimental designs and data analyses. So by doing that slash, I've invoked the skill, and it will it already invoked the skill, so it's not going to reinsert it into context, but now it's going to get started and continue this task. So we can see it started the query here, right? So if I hit Control O, we can see what query it ran with the text here, right? So we have this query that I just asked it to hit Pinecone with, and we got a bunch of records back. So we say, here are the top 10 results, right? It looks like it's just regenerating the results instead of having us read them. That's kind of annoying, but we can go ahead and see what those are in a second.
Okay.
Let's see if we can fix that.
Because you're just basically asking it to just fetch these particular sets.
Right. Because it looks like it's fetching them, but it's kind of going in between.
And just generating already? Is that what it's doing?
No, it's regenerating on top of the records, which is not the behavior that I want. So that's just a hole there. We just want it to return the records directly.
Gotcha.
So let's give it a second to like fix its own mistake. It'll probably take a little bit of time, and then we can show off what's kind of going on here.
Bam. No, but I'm wondering, like, on top of like the immediate thing that comes to mind is like you could let like you could basically like give some samples of the data to like say Claude or whatever, right? And instead of you doing the actual labeling, right? It could theoretically do the labeling itself. Like it could come up with like its own label. So you see what I'm saying? Like it could use this skill itself.
If you do a really good job describing your schema and you just point it at the schema, then you could do that, right?
Yeah.
But it can be difficult if you haven't defined that in the first place, because then you have to architect like what labels have I created already, all that sort of stuff, right?
Right.
Oh my gosh, it's not doing the thing that I wanted to do, and that's okay. That's awesome.
But what did it surface right now? Like and I get that it didn't surface like the actual entries from like whatever we indexed in Pinecone, but what did it surface?
Let's see. So we got a clinical trials researcher who can't use AI because of patient confidentiality. We have somebody that's using
just to understand, like these are all cases where we're seeing a scientist using AI as part of their experimental workflow.
Exactly.
Okay.
No. These people are not. They're describing that they would, but they can't. right?
They would. They would, but they can't.
Right. And this third result is closer to what we're interested in, if this is the case, which is they tried using it for design verification, which is what I asked for, but couldn't, right? Someone's using it to summarize literature review notes. That could be a workflow automation task, maybe, right?
Yeah.
Someone's asking for automating full analysis pipeline, right? And then someone's saying, hey, I would, but I kind of need to verify what's kind of going on there, right?
Right. And this is this is just the label the label step, right? Like this is before you do like the auto labeling of all the other records that you didn't go over, like manually.
Exactly.
Okay. This is cool.
And what we can do is that if this doesn't end up working that well, is we can actually just grab these IDs and just look at them directly in the console,
Yeah, exactly.
which I'm pulling up here,
Yeah.
which is awesome. But the intended behavior is that it actually just outputs the. It's trying to.
Can you fetch with like the? Can you fetch with like the skill, like the Pinecone skill? Just like fetch an entry by ID.
No, you cannot. With the skill that I've written, you can label with that workflow.
Not this particular skill, like the general Pinecone skill. Not this particular labeling skill. You feel me?
No.
Can you do it with the Pinecone CLI bits?
I think you can do it with the Pinecone CLI, but not in an integrated way. So it would return
right.
vectors.
No, but could you say? Oh yeah. Oh, it would return vectors and not the text. Right. Ugh. Okay. We should do something about
that. I think cool. It might. I have to check. It might use.
It'd be cool to tell. Like, can you just tell like Claude, hey, get me this yeah. I wonder if you could do that.
Oh, cool. You know what? They probably changed the behavior of how this tool call works, because it used to be that it writes it out directly in context, but I think they no longer do that. That's why I'm getting confused.
Oh.
Yeah, so it returns the vectorized representation.
Okay. Can you say like, hey, I want the
But that's sick, right? Because look, we just used our CLI skill and it did an actual like real
real query
for us, right?
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
Here's the fetch record. There we go.
We're thinking with portals, dude. We did it. That was sick. Oh my God, we totally just did it. Look at this, Roie. This is why you're head of DevRel right there. This is why Okay. For everyone in chat who has like stayed watching me flail for the past 5 minutes, what we've just done is we've fetched the records using the IDs directly using our CLI, using the Claude Code plugin. So we were just like, figure it out, like use the Pinecone CLI to fetch the records, and it retrieved the records in the exact way we wanted to do. And this is the exact thing that we want to label. So let's look at this text here. This says, that would be quite a comprehensive solution, essentially automating the entire analysis pipeline from CAD input to final report. What draws you there? Time is my biggest driver. I would expect there to be a separate verification process for the user. We would have to perform. That's workflow automation. Right? That is the concept of workflow automation. They didn't end up implementing that, but that is a conversation about workflow automation. So we would want to label this pair to be that sort of thing. So let's see if we can just label that there, right? Or these other things, right? Let's go ahead and label these, then use the MCP to prove that only that the labeling worked.
Nice.
Using metadata filters, right?
And you don't have to, you don't feel obligated to tell it like, hey, use particularly the label skill I gave you.
It already invoked it in context. It's already there.
It's already there.
Yeah. So once you invoke a skill, it doesn't reinvoke the skill because it's inside context.
I see. So it would know. So it would basically know to go to like, script / label and do the labeling and all that.
Right.
Okay.
Cool. So it was able to confirm that that's the case. It looks like they've changed how tool calls work, and you can't get the outputs back into context when you expand the thing. That's going to be something I'm going to have to fix. That's kind of frustrating. But let's go ahead and see if these are labeled inside our index. So I'm just going to grab this, and I'm going to go to our index here.
Wait. Can you? What is the proof that it gave? Because it gave. See, it said added one line,
just like it just had a successful query basically, but it hid the tool call results. I'm sure there's an argument somewhere, right? Yeah, there's probably an argument somewhere we can use in order to fix. You know what? Let's see. Can we change an argument to return?
Like with portals, bruh. I mean, no, but seriously, that like, I mean, every time like it doesn't do the thing you want it to, you tell
we just
it
ask.
to do the thing you want it to, and then
we can see, right?
Yeah. See,
just a quick time check. We've got about 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Ugh, I'm not gonna get to do my embeddings 2 demo.
Oh dang.
Arjun.
We also have one question out there too.
Oh, questions.
Yeah. I mean,
score.
I was waiting for it to be the right time, but
okay. What's a good score?
I'll throw it up there, and then we can.
What score gives you confidence the results are good enough?
This is a good question.
What's the context? Do you think he's talking about like the results that you were looking at?
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. So it's relative, right? So how that works is you care about how much more those records are in that score than you do about what the absolute score is, right? Because any of the cosine similarity scores that you'll have in any context, they're interpretable in terms of the greater the score, the more semantically similar they are to the input query in whatever document you have. But that doesn't necessarily correlate one-to-one to this downstream task that we're doing of like data labeling, right? So you have to pick a cutoff that's like, okay, all the records above this cutoff, if you have future records that are above that amount, you can consider labeled correctly. And you can see how much of that differs when you pass in a record that shouldn't be labeled like that and what that score ends up looking like. So it could be that we query these results and we get back a cosine similarity score for the top 5 records that range between 0.4 to 0.3, right? Then we can say, okay, our cutoff's going to be 0.3 cosine similarity. If any record is greater than that, right? Then we label it for this thing, or we look at the proportion of things that are kind of being returned. So we don't want to think about things in terms of score for the results. We want to think about things in terms of relativeness, right? So, or we can abandon the score approach and we're like, okay, we're just going to do the top K like voting, right? So we have 10 results. How many of those, that's our cutoff. How many of those actually correspond to the thing that we're interested in? Is it more than any other labels that we have? Then we kind of pick that sort of thing. So it's less about exact numbers. It's more about cutoffs and kind of benchmarking against those cutoffs based on the data that you're already labeling.
Yeah, this seems to me like a whole live stream you can do about this. Like how do you rank and how do you do like, you know, score normalization, and if you have multiple scoring systems and blah, blah, blah. That could be a super interesting topic. Okay. I mean, I guess we're almost near time. There's so much more to explore here. Like, I think that like, I can't wait for our next session.
Which is 2 weeks from today. And
2 weeks
sadly,
from today.
I'll be on vacation.
Oh no. I don't know if we can do it without you, Jenna. We'll have to find a third co-host,
a third wheel,
the triad, the third to keep the triad going. No, but maybe we'll have a special guest next week, a secret special guest that we will tease out the entire week, and nobody will know who it is. And then finally, like, they'll come on and they'll be wearing a mask, and we'll just reveal who they are at the very, very end.
Are you describing Batman right now?
Batman. I'm describing Batman. It's gonna be Batman. Folks, you heard it here first. Next week, next session, our guest host will be Batman. Guys,
you looking to share your
like,
screen,
this is
Arjun?
more...
If we can share really quick, I can show you that the
Ooh.
labeling actually ended up working. So we can see AI workflow role right there. That's automation. So that's super cool. Right? So we actually were able to kind of insert and put that label in there.
Nice.
So pretty neat.
Cool.
Yeah, and I'm sure you'll probably want to like make this into like something people can fuss around with.
Yeah, I mean, if this is something people are interested in, if this is something you want to be able to use yourself, please tell us in the chat. I will totally make a skill to make this way easier and actually work super well.
Sweet.
If this is something that you'd want to see.
I can already think of like uses for it for my own purposes. Like I'm working on building sort of like a memory system that like gets a lot of information from a lot of sources. So like I have my glasses and the audio session on my Mac, and I have like my Pieces OS like live stream that kind of like gives me like a summary of everything that I'm doing on my machine as sort of like input, right? And I'm exactly trying to categorize, right, like the different interactions that I can find within those sources into like similar topics, similar, you know, themes, etc. Right? So like I could personally use this pretty soon. And yeah, like I think that maybe next time we can talk about memory a little bit, like about, because like I think I mean, it's a bummer because Jenna, if you're not going to be here, you've been thinking about this a lot. Too.
I have, but it's also a big topic. So I
know
like
we can talk about it forever.
Multiple sessions.
Yeah. we will dedicate multiple sessions to it. But yeah, this is always super fun. Thanks for everybody who listened in. Yeah. I guess we'll see you all.
Thank you all for being here. We'll schedule it the same way as last time. We'll put it on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And yeah.
Sweet, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.
We need an
outro.
We need an outro.
I know, yeah.
Like it's like and then like the Pinecone logo.
Can I just record
or something.
that? And
yes, let's do it. And then like and you know how all like these shows like have like a little end snippet after the credits are done.
Yeah.
Like the old lady that falls off her chair and like you know like what like It's Always Sunny has like this speech in reverse bit that they do, and every show has that. Yeah, we need to have that too. Cool.
Maybe for next time.
For next time.
Yes.
All right, folks.
All righty. Thank you. Bye-bye.